All right, strap yourselves in because tonight we're going deep on Clinton Road
Road.
in New Jersey.
Yeah.
That stretch of road that everyone's always whispering about, with all the ghost stories and legends.
Right.
We're going to try and figure out why it's got this reputation. And honestly, even if you don't believe in ghosts or the supernatural or anything,
Mhm.
I think you're going to find this really fascinating.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Clinton Road isn't just some random spooky back road.
Yeah. Right.
It's become like this cultural phenomenon, a place where stories and reality kind of blur together.
Totally.
You might wonder why we're so drawn to these kinds of places.
Absolutely.
Okay, so first, can you just like paint us a picture of Clinton Road? Where is it and what's it like?
So picture this 10 miles of winding road cutting through a really dense forest in Passaic County, New Jersey.
Okay.
And the trees, they form a canopy so thick that even on a sunny day, it feels perpetually gloomy.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that atmosphere alone is enough to send shivers down your spine. Yeah, I'm already getting goosebumps just thinking about it, but it's more than just the setting, right?
Oh, yeah.
There are all these specific stories tied to Clinton Road.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the deal with that bridge that everyone always talks about?
Ah, yes, the Clinton Road Bridge. This is where the legends truly come alive.
Okay.
The most famous story is about a ghost boy who supposedly drowned there, and people say if you toss a coin into the water, his ghost will throw it back at you.
Wait, seriously, people actually believe that?
Yeah, that sounds crazy, right?
Yeah,
But that's the power of a good ghost story.
right.
It takes something real, a place, an event, and then lets our imaginations run wild.
So is there any truth to the story about the boy drowning, or is it purely folklore?
That's the thing about Clinton Road.
Right.
Separating fact from fiction is almost impossible.
Right.
There are records of accidents and even some disappearances in the area over the years,
Hmm.
but nothing definitively linked to this ghost boy legend.
So it's like a puzzle with some pieces missing?
Exactly.
And that just makes it more intriguing, right?
Yeah,
It leaves room for people to fill in those blanks with their own fears and beliefs.
exactly. It's like a blank canvas for our collective imagination. And that bridge is just the beginning. Clinton Road has a whole collection of creaky tales,
Oh, really?
each more bizarre than the last.
Okay, so spill it. What other spooky tales should we be aware of before we venture any further down this road?
Well, have you heard about the phantom hitchhiker?
Oh, I think so. They just vanish into thin air, right?
That's the one. Imagine driving along this desolate road at night and seeing a lone figure by the side of the road. You stop to offer them a ride, and poof, they disappear.
See, that's the kind of story that really gets to me. It plays on those primal feels of being alone, isolated, vulnerable.
Yeah, and it taps into that universal question, what if
Mm-hmm.
there's more out there than what we can see?
Right. Okay, so we've got a ghost boy, a vanishing hitchhiker. What else there has to be more?
Oh, there's plenty more people have reported seeing ghostly headlights
Hmm.
that appear out of nowhere, chasing them down the road before vanishing just as quickly. There are rumors of strange animal sightings, creatures that don't seem to belong in this world.
Whoa.
And then there are the whispers,
Whisper.
disembodied voices carried on the wind that send chills down your spine.
Hold on, whispers like actual voices people are hearing?
That's what they claim. It's like the forest itself is trying to communicate,
Wow.
sharing secrets meant to be heard only by those brave enough to listen.
When you put it that way, it sounds less like a road and more like a portal to another dimension.
And that's exactly the feeling Clinton Road evokes. But let's not forget about Dead Man's Curve, perhaps the most infamous spot on this haunted highway.
Dead Man's Curve, the name itself sounds ominous. What makes this particular spot so spooky?
It's not just the name. Dead Man's Curve has a much darker reputation. It's shrouded in tales of satanic rituals and intense paranormal activity.
Okay.
People report seeing flickering lights, hearing strange noises, and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, like they're being watched by unseen eyes.
Okay, you mentioned satanic rituals. Is there any historical evidence of these kinds of activities taking place there, or is that just part of the folklore?
It's hard to say for sure. The history of this region is full of folklore and whispers of the occult.
Right.
Some speculate that certain groups were drawn to the area's isolation and natural beauty for their rituals, but concrete evidence is hard to come by.
So again, it's that blend of reality and myth that makes Clinton Road so captivating. We're left to wonder what's true and what's been embellished over time.
Exactly, and that ambiguity allows each visitor to create their own narrative, their own truth.
I'm already hooked, and we've barely scratched the surface. But before we dive deeper into specific locations along Clinton Road,
Mhm.
I have to ask,
What?
what is it about this place that draws people to it? Why do so many people actively seek out this road knowing its reputation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Mm.
I think it goes back to our fascination with the unknown. There's a part of us that yearns to touch the veil between our world and the world of the supernatural. That thin boundary between what we can explain and what remains a mystery.
It's like there's this primal urge inside of us to confront our fears, to test the limits of our reality.
Exactly. For some, it's about thrill, seeking that adrenaline rush of venturing into the unknown. For others, it's a genuine curiosity, a desire to see if there's truly something more out there. And of course, there were the skeptics.
Right. The skeptics, they would probably say that a lot of these stories are just that stories, fueled by the power of suggestion, overactive imaginations, maybe a healthy dose of local folklore passed down through generations.
And they make a valid point. It's important to consider that our minds can play tricks on us, especially in a place like this, so steeped in spooky lore.
Right.
But then there are those who claim to have experienced things on Clinton Road that simply can't be explained away by logic or reason.
Which leaves us with this delicious tension, this unresolved question mark hanging over the whole place. Are the legends true, or are they just products of our collective imagination?
I think the answer, like most things in life, is somewhere in between.
Yeah.
There's a kernel of truth in every legend, a spark of something real that ignites our imaginations.
Hmm.
And that's where the true magic of Clinton Road lies.
Okay, I'm ready to get into the specifics. Let's unpack some of the locations along Clinton Road that have earned this reputation for being so well haunted.
Let's start with the most iconic spot, the Clinton Road Bridge, and see if we can unravel the truth behind the Ghost Boy legend.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so the Clinton Road Bridge, it's almost become like a pilgrimage site,
Right.
for those seeking a brush with the paranormal. And I think what makes this spot so compelling is that there's something inherently eerie about bridges. Don't you think?
I never thought about it that way, but you're right. It's like they hold a certain mystique,
Yeah.
a sense of possibility, like anything could happen when you cross over.
Exactly. And then when you combine that with the story of the Ghost Boy, it's no wonder this bridge has become like a focal point for all these
Yeah.
paranormal enthusiasts. But you mentioned earlier that there's no concrete evidence linking any drownings to this bridge.
Yeah, from what I've read, there haven't been any confirmed drownings at the Clinton Road Bridge, at least not in recent history.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean the stories aren't rooted in something real. Remember that article you shared about the history of the area?
Oh, right. It talked about how Clinton Road was built near a former mining town,
Mm-hmm.
and there were a lot of accidents and even some deaths associated with the mines back in the day.
Right.
It's possible that those tragedies, combined with the bridge's natural eeriness,
Yeah.
could have sparked the Ghost Boy legend.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like the collective memory of these past tragedies has become imprinted on the landscape almost,
Right.
manifesting in these ghost stories.
It's fascinating how our perception of a place can be shaped by its history, even if we're not consciously aware of it.
Absolutely. Okay, so the Clinton Road Bridge is definitely spooky, but what else should we be on the lookout for as we venture further down this haunted highway?
Well, as we move along, you'll come across another intriguing spot, the so-called Druidic Temple.
Wait, hold on. A Druidic temple in New Jersey?
I know it sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
But there it is, nestled among the trees, this cone-shaped stone structure that looks like something straight out of ancient history.
Okay, I'm picturing robed figures chanting under the moonlight. What's the real story behind this temple?
Well, despite its mystical-sounding name and appearance, the Druidic Temple isn't actually a temple at all.
Oh.
It's the ruin of a 19th century iron smelter.
Oh, so much for ancient druids. But even if it's not a real temple, it still adds to the overall mystique of Clinton Road, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's a perfect example of how our imaginations can transform mundane structures into something extraordinary.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting to consider the historical significance of the iron smelter itself. It speaks to a time when this area was a hub of industrial activity, a far cry from the quiet forested landscape we see today.
So we've got a ghost boy, a mysterious, not-so-ancient temple, and a whole lot of spooky atmosphere. What other creepy encounters have people reported along Clinton Road?
But one of the most persistent legends is the tale of the ghost truck.
Oh, yeah. I remember reading about that in one of the articles you sent. It's like a phantom vehicle that appears out of nowhere, right?
Exactly. Imagine you're driving down this dark, desolate road, and suddenly in your rearview mirror, you see a pair of headlights approaching at an alarming speed.
Okay.
Pull over to let it pass, but as it gets closer, it just vanishes.
Okay, yeah, that would definitely freak me out. Is there any explanation for this? Could it be some kind of optical illusion or a trick of the light?
That's what some skeptics suggest. But those who have encountered the ghost truck claim it's something far more sinister.
Oh, really?
They describe it as a large black pickup truck, often with no driver in sight.
Okay, no, that's just creepy. And what's the deal with Cross Castle? I saw that mentioned in a couple of the articles too.
Cross Castle, this one's a classic haunted house tale, but with a Clinton Road twist.
Right.
It's not actually a castle in the traditional sense,
Right?
but rather the ruins of a once grand private resort built back in 1905.
So it's more like a decaying mansion than a castle.
Exactly. But don't let the lack of turrets and moats fool you, because the stories surrounding Cross Castle are just as chilling as any medieval ghost story.
So what kind of spooky occurrences are we talking about here?
People report hearing eerie echoes resonating through the ruins, feeling unexplained cold drafts, and seeing translucent figures flitting through the crumbling walls.
Okay, I'm getting major haunted house vibes from this one.
Hmm?
But isn't it a bit dangerous for people to be wandering around these ruins?
You're right, safety is definitely a concern. The structure is unstable, and the area is isolated, so it's not a place to explore alone or after dark.
Good point. It's easy to get caught up in the thrill of the hunt and forget about basic safety precautions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But speaking of thrills, one aspect of Clinton Road that often gets overlooked is its natural beauty. Remember, this is a 10-mile stretch of road winding through dense forest. Imagine, the leaves changing color in the fall sunlight, filtering through the branches, even without the ghost stories. It's a captivating place.
That's true. It's easy to get so focused on the spooky stuff that we forget about the natural wonders that are all around us.
And that natural beauty adds to the overall atmosphere. It's like the forest itself is a character in the Clinton Road story,
Yeah.
holding secrets that we may never fully understand.
It's interesting how we're drawn to these places where nature feels untamed, where there's a sense of mystery and the unknown.
I think it speaks to a deep-seated need within us to connect with something larger than ourselves, to find a sense of wonder and awe in the face of the natural world.
Okay, I'm ready to delve deeper into some of these specific locations, starting with the Clinton Road Bridge. What kind of experiences have people reported at this infamous spot? So we've talked about haunted bridges and mysterious temples and phantom trucks. Clinton Road seems to have it all.
Yeah.
But let's say someone's listening to this and thinking, okay, I'm sold. I need to experience this for myself.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them before they hit the road?
Well, first and foremost, safety.
Okay.
Clinton Road is isolated. It's winding with limited cell service in some areas.
Right?
So it's always best to go with at least one other person.
Yeah.
Let someone know where you're going and when you expect to be back.
Makes sense. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement and forget about those basic precautions. And what about packing essentials? What should people bring along for a Clinton Road adventure?
Definitely bring flashlights, extra batteries,
Okay.
and a map just in case your GPS decides to take an unexpected detour. And don't forget water and snacks, especially if you plan on spending a few hours exploring.
Oh, and a camera, of course, got to be ready to capture any paranormal activity.
Absolutely, though.
Yeah.
I always recommend being respectful of the environment and any potential unseen residents.
Right. We're visitors, not ghostbusters.
Exactly.
Speaking of visitors, I'm curious about the best time to visit Clinton Road. Is there a particular season that's considered the most active?
Well, if you're going for the full spooky effect, fall is definitely the prime time.
Yeah.
The changing leaves, the crisp air, the shorter days, it just adds to that eerie atmosphere.
Yeah, fall definitely has that veil between worlds thinning vibe. But if you're more interested in the history and natural beauty, spring and summer offer more pleasant driving conditions.
Exactly. And don't forget, even if you don't encounter any ghosts, Clinton Road is still a beautiful and intriguing place to visit. The scenery alone is worth the trip.
That's true. Okay, but let's be real for a second. Most people going to Clinton Road are hoping for at least a little glimpse of something paranormal.
Right.
Any tips for maximizing their chances of a spooky encounter?
Besides visiting at night, which is always a good starting point, I'd say the key is to be observant.
Okay.
Pay attention to your surroundings, listen for any unusual sounds, watch for any unexplained movements, and most importantly, trust your instincts.
What do you mean by trust your instincts?
If a particular spot feels off or gives you the creeps, there's probably a reason for it. Don't dismiss those feelings.
Yeah.
They could be your subconscious picking up on something that your conscious mind hasn't registered yet.
Okay, that's a little spooky, but I get it. It's like that feeling you get when you know you're being watched even though you can't see anyone.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe it's not just your imagination. Maybe there really is something more out there, something just beyond our perception.
Well, that's a thought to leave our listeners with as we wrap up our deep dive into Clinton Road. I have to ask, after all the research and stories we've uncovered, do you believe it's truly haunted?
I came into this with a healthy dose of skepticism,
Yeah.
but I have to say I'm intrigued. Whether it's the ghost boy on a bridge, the phantom truck, or the countless other reports of unexplained phenomena, there's definitely something about Clinton Road that defies easy explanation.
So you're saying you're a believer?
I'm saying I'm open to the possibility, and I think that's the key takeaway from all of this.
Okay.
Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's no denying the power of these stories to spark our imaginations, make us question what we think we know, and remind us that there's still a lot of mystery in the world.
Beautifully said. And who knows, maybe someday science will catch up with folklore and we'll finally have a definitive answer to the question of whether places like Clinton Road are truly haunted. But until then, the mystery remains.
And perhaps the mystery is part of the allure. It allows us to embrace the unknown, to explore the boundaries of our understanding, and to find wonder in the things we can't explain.
So, to our listeners, if you ever find yourself in New Jersey and you're feeling adventurous, take a drive down Clinton Road. Just remember to be safe, be respectful, and most importantly, keep an open mind. You never know what you might encounter. And hey, if you happen to see a ghost boy tossing coins back from under a bridge, tell him we said hi.
And maybe ask him if he has any tips on where to find the best pizza in the area. After all, even ghosts got to eat right.
That's right. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Clinton Road. Until next time, stay curious, stay spooky, and keep exploring the mysteries of the world around you.